All right, 99.9 Punk World Radio FM. You guys already know what time it is. Right here, we are actually live in full effect, and we actually have a punk rock legend. That's right, straight out of British Columbia. We have Kyle Richardson of Not In Public. He also has such an extensive history within the punk rock community. We can just name this intro alone and have it at least 20 minutes long about the bands and work he has done. But we're going to leave the talking about that up to him. How are you doing this evening, Kyle?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on here.
Oh, man, I got to say, you are most certainly welcome, man.
I wouldn't consider myself a legend. I'm just one of the many out there.
Hey, I got to say, the things you've done, man, I got to say, I definitely consider you a legend. So just being able to speak with you this evening is such a tremendous honor.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
And I have to ask, how's everything out there in British Columbia, man? Because I do know, like, I saw that you guys are getting relatively nice weather, man. And down here in Ontario, I'm actually kind of jealous.
Yeah, today was great, actually. It was really good. Got some guys with their tops down driving around and the sun was shining. Took my buddy's dog for a walk today, so it was good.
Man, I tried to do that the other day, man, with roll the windows down in my Buick, and I was like, feeling the air, and then 2 minutes later, I was like, oh, this is too cold. We're not quite there yet.
Well, you got to move to the West Coast, man.
I definitely have to, man. That's where all the punk rock concerts are going down as well. We don't get a lot of shows down here in Ontario, so definitely being in the punk rock community, I get a little jealous when I see all these amazing shows, and I'm here in Ontario, like, goddamn.
We have an excellent little scene here, that's for sure. As you know, there's lots of great bands that are active and coming back up again, like Another Joe, and I know By a Thread's thinking about doing another album right now. Yeah, I know the Gob guys, of course, they're going to be active again, I'm sure, soon enough. They did a little tour last August? I was out there with them, helping them out. So yeah, we got so many good bands out here. Pavel Bure's, Russian Tim and Pavel Bure's, of course. What else we got? I can't even think of all of them off the top of my head. Yeah. What else can I say?
And when you said a few moments ago about Another Joe, I actually saw as well on their Facebook just a couple of days ago that Gabe of Gob actually joined Another Joe as a drummer, man. I got to say that was really, really super cool to see. But honestly, as a fan of both bands, I really did not. I really kind of saw that coming. I really did. I could really see that happening.
Yeah, well, Gabe's can't stay still. That guy, like, he helped us out with our last album, obviously, and we're not doing any shows at the moment. We're in between guitarists and just trying to book something that is worthwhile doing. But yeah, Gabe, he doesn't ever stop. He's a machine. He's one of the best drummers out there, and why not? I can see why John and Allison want him to be playing with them too, because he's an incredible drummer. He's a great dude.
And taking you back to your amazing career, man, I got to take you back to the beginning, because obviously, like we mentioned during the intro, you've done a lot of amazing things so far within the punk rock community. But what actually got you into the music industry initially? Like, what sparked the career of Kyle Richardson?
I was just into music my whole life, and then met a guy named Tom Thacker in elementary school, and him and I started jamming after school, hanging out in the guitar room, learning to play guitar. I was always into music. I was lucky enough to be around some cool guys that were also into music, and watching Tom learn to play drums and guitar and just into the same tunes and music as I was. We just kind of inspired each other, and he totally inspired me because the guy's a freaking machine. And no one was playing bass, and so I picked up the bass and I liked it, and I started jamming in bands and played with Tom a tiny bit, and he went off and did the Gob stuff, and I went off and did my own band too. It was Wisecrack, I guess, back in those days. Just keep playing. Just like any other kid.
And when you said you did bass as well, I actually know that you also play the drums as well. Like I have to ask, what actually got you into so many instruments?
I don't really play drums. No, I play bass and I play a bit of guitar, and I try to sing more like Scream, as you've heard on the new Not in Public album. Yeah.
Hey, I gotta say though, that was some pretty fine screaming though. You know what I mean? Like it definitely is a phenomenal record.
Thanks a lot, and hope you like it.
But there also is, touching base on the screaming part there for a moment. There's really no like wrong way to scream. You know what I mean? As long as you got it down pat and it kind of goes with the rhythm, it just works.
Well, Ryan, my guitarist, my partner in crime with Not in Public, he's always like, "Oh, I want to hear it heavier, heavier, heavier." I'm like, "Okay, man. Okay, here we go." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's good. That's the stuff right there." He pushes me right to the edge, and I think Gabe actually enjoys my screaming too. I think he likes pushing it to the edge, and if you can do it right, it sounds good. I don't know if I'm the best at it, but I do what I just do what's good for the song. try my best.
And also in 1996, you actually established the label by the name of Spawner Records. I was wondering if you can actually just tell our viewers a story behind that amazing label. And of course, what ultimately made you decide to launch that back in the mid 90s? Because most people didn't have that mindset that you had. Most people were searching for a deal. Most people just didn't start their own labels.
DIY, man. There wasn't really anything out here. Network Records was out here, and of course they had Gob and all that stuff. I started with a fanzine, actually. It was just a fanzine of all the local punk scene and rock scene, whatever. And I thought, oh, well, it'd be cool to put out a tape. So I actually put out a compilation tape from the fanzine, and then that sold like tons. And then I was in a band briefly with a band called Manor Farm. And I started my own band, Wisecrack. And then I remember Tom came home one day and he said, "Oh, I got a CD." And this is like 1994, 95. I was like, "Holy crap, one of my buddies has a CD." Like, it was the biggest thing ever, right? So, one of my friends' bands put out a CD. Anyway, when he did that, and when I was selling the tapes and going to shows, and I started putting on shows and doing the fanzine, I just thought, hey, I'll put out compilation CDs, put out my own band CD, Wisecrack in the day. And it just went from there. It just took off. I was in BC doing Spawner, and then I met up with other touring bands like Steve from Belvedere. They would come through. Downwave would come through. Submission Hold was doing some stuff out here. Another Joe was there. BNU, of course, Gabe. We're all kind of interconnected. So those were the days before internet, email, nothing. It was all book your own life book, and meeting bands, just touring through or booking shows. It was all word of mouth. There was no streaming. There was no internet, nothing. It was a tight-knit group. Everyone knew each other right across the country. The label was just here for the West Coast. Like I said, I would know other record labels, like Steve from Belvedere started his Hourglass Records, and there's a couple other ones I can't remember too in Calgary and Edmonton, and we all just networked together. It was just a bunch of guys playing punk rock, just trying to put out your own albums, right?
And it's crazy. This label has actually been going for 26 plus years. Do you actually have any idea that you would actually grow this big and actually still be doing the same label, the same brand you started in the mid 90s today in 2023?
No, it's changed so much. I started off with tapes, went to CDs, then streaming hit, and now I'm back to tapes and vinyl again. I put out a couple vinyls way back when. I had no idea it would keep going, and things is mostly streaming, and you're printing T-shirts and putting out the odd vinyl, but I haven't collectively been pushing it as much as I used to, just because of family and my own life has gotten in the way. But it's still there, it's still active. We're still selling stuff. I get a lot of old fans asking for out of press stuff, and I'm thinking about repressing a couple albums actually. But yeah, I had no idea it would continue on. I'll keep doing it as long as people are buying stuff and wanting it. So yeah.
And also, as well, in the year 1997, you actually performed bass and lead vocals on, of course, Wisecrack's 12-track album titled Jinx. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about this classic album, because honestly, this is actually one of my favorite records that you guys actually put out back in the day.
Oh, that's rad. Yeah, that was myself and Gavin. We both shared vocal duties on that. That was 100% DIY. I recorded that in our jam spot in the basement on reel-to-reel 8-track. We went across Canada. That was my first cross Canada tour. And yeah, we sold a lot of those CDs. They're totally out of print now. They were 100% DIY. Like I said, it was just us recording it in our basement. Old school analog. You can't get much more do it yourself than that, right? I didn't have any training. I learned from doing my 4-track stuff and slowly just record bands. And then we didn't have enough money to go into a studio. So we just ended up buying this 8-track reel-to-reel and doing it completely ourselves. And that's all I can tell you really about that. It's just grassroots.
And I gotta say, it's such a phenomenal record. When I actually I still listen to it to this day. But
Nice.
obviously, for my interviews, I do a lot more digging, and obviously, because you're a fan, but you also got to be a researcher as well. And I actually read, which blew my mind today when I read this, that you guys also recorded this album in Chris Archer's bedroom in March of '97. I was wondering if you can actually just tell us a bit more about the recording process of just doing this in his bedroom versus a regular studio, because obviously, home studios home studios in the 90s aren't what they are today.
No, yeah, dude, it was totally it's hard for me to remember that far back, but yeah, we did. I think we did. Yeah, we might have done the whole thing in his bedroom. It was in his basement. I guess it was. We just made with what we had. There's no sound separation. I think maybe I went into the other room. When we were playing, so we didn't have like the over twanging of the guitar strings or whatever when we're jamming in the room. We go into the other room and kind of like Chris would click himself in, and then there was no click track. We weren't even that pro by any means back then, right? It was on live off the floor. And we put our amps, I think, in a closet. Total, like, I think his parents were away when we recorded it. It might have been over like a few days, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was 100% in his mom's house in his basement. Yeah, and then from there we did the next album, I think, in our actual jam spot. And again, the jam spot, it was just like a barn. Like, we didn't have anything. It literally closets, basements, and barns. We never had any. There was no glass windows and a guy with a talkback mic or anything like that. It was fully DIY. What does this sound good? And then borrowing gear. I remember borrowing Theo. Actually, we bought Theo's from Gob, his head, about a year before, and they had used that same head on, I think, How Far Shells Takes You. And then I got a phone call from Blair Calababa, who was doing the Sum 41 record, the first album, I think, or the demos or something, I can't remember. And I had heard of Sum 41, and I know you had Cone on there a little while ago too. Great guy. All those guys are great. But anyway, I don't even know if Cone knows this, because I don't think I ever told him. But anyway, I got this phone call from Sum 41 guys, or like Blair. They're like, "Hey, do you have Theo's amp?" I go, yeah, we bought that a while ago. Well, yeah, this band Sum 41 wants to borrow it. Can we rent it off you? And we're right in the middle of recording ourselves too. We're like, no, we got our own amp. You know, they can get their amp somewhere else. Sum 41. Who the heck are these guys? And And like I heard of them. It's like, what are they trying to do? Get our sound? It was all fun and games. We're like, screw it. But if I would have known, I would totally have let them. Right? We were just busy with our own album at the time. But it's always funny telling that story with Theo. I was like, dude, remember when we bought that amp? He's like, yeah. I go, yeah. The Sum 41 guys, they were like trying to get the same sound as you off How Far Shall It Take You. And I always joke around, I get their own sound, but they're obviously they've done really well, and they have a great guitar sound anyways. But as a little side note.
I gotta ask, obviously judging by the sounds of the story, they didn't get a chance to borrow the amp, but did you ever let them actually after you were done recording, or did they just say, you know what, whatever, we're gonna get our own anyways?
No, I'm sure they obviously worked it out. They got their own sound and their own amp and everything. I guess they loved Theo's guitar sound on that album, which it is. It's awesome. Theo's an incredible engineer, and he's really meticulous with his guitar sounds. If you listen to any of the Golb albums, the guitar sounds awesome, which is hence why I steal them for Not in Public stuff nowadays. I actually used Theo's amp on this last Not in Public album.
And I gotta say, Theo definitely has a down pat when it comes to the sound and the production. He's definitely very, very, very good at what he does.
Oh, he's awesome. He's one of the best. I'm fortunate to have grown up with him and just know him. I always say, yeah, I'm just riding your coattails again, Theo. Like, thanks, man. I wish he was here. He's on holiday right now. He's out in I think he's out in California right now. So. I was trying to tell them to come in here on the interview, but
I actually reached out to him. I reached out.
I know.
I reached out to him for an interview as well. He actually told me he was going to be out there in California. So hopefully down the line we can make something happen.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
But also, aside from Wisecrack, you were also a member of another British Columbia punk rock band by the name of Complete. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this band, and of course, what was it like in the mid '90s juggling two bands at once? Was it difficult for you, or did this come naturally?
Well, what happened with Complete is I started to jam with the guys. John and Darren were brothers that were in the band the Cretans that I had recorded earlier. And then they needed a bass player. Their bass player left or whatever, and so I joined them. And then we said, we'll do a side band. It was supposed to be just a side band called Complete. And then Wisecrack, things happened with Wisecrack with those guys that I want to get into details, but we parted ways. And so Complete became my full-time band and kind of dove into that. But yeah, we went through a lot of changes. We put out many albums. I'm actually just getting the back catalog of Complete on streaming because a lot of it's not on any streaming services. There's tons of it on YouTube that people have just posted, but I've never had it on Spotify or any of the other streaming platforms, iTunes or anything. So I'm actually in the midst of uploading all that stuff now. I was just doing one today actually. But yeah, we did tons of stuff. We did 6 or 7 years, I think we were a band. Multi cross Canada tours into the States. We did a bunch of videos. Warped Tour. We did Warped Tour a bunch of times. We also brought in the singer from Wishing Well. When Wishing Well disbanded, we brought in our old buddy from Wishing Well, and he joined us for about 2 or 3 years. We did pretty well, and then all things come to an end. But yeah, that was most of my career was actually with Complete. Wisecrack was only about 4 years, I think, and then Complete was about 6 or so. And then I was in and out of bands. I've always been in bands or filling in for bands and whatnot. So yeah. Justin Denbach. Sorry, I didn't name Justin Denbach from Wishing Well. We added him as a singer, and he's an incredible singer. He lives out your way actually. He's I think it is in Ottawa. I think he's out in Ontario there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Ottawa's only about I would say 40, 45 minutes actually from me.
Yeah.
And also, when you actually brought up the Warp Tour a few moments ago, that was actually my question list because obviously you've done a lot of Warp Tours,
Yep.
and the one thing I love is Warp Tour stories because just there was one of the, on my honest opinion, Warp Tour is one of the most just iconic but also unique festivals as well. No one really did it like the Warp Tour. So if you don't mind me asking, what is one of your most fondest memories you shared on that tour? Because obviously there's some crazy stuff that goes down at Warp Tour.
Gee, what? Well, we did a lot of. I did a lot of. We had a compilation disc called "Give Us a Break." We used to give away these discs called "Give Us a Break." So we, Kevin Lyman, was always gracious enough to put our band, put Complete on there, and a whole bunch of other. Belvedere was on a lot of the Warped Tour dates too, and he was always stoked. He's, oh yeah, you guys come out, play. And I remember chucking these CDs, right? And we're talking like the plastic. They weren't like Enviro packs back then. They were just full on cases, and we're chucking them. We're tossing them out into the crowd, and we're dinging. Like, I'm sure there was a few injuries from that. I hope I didn't really hurt anybody, but I know Steve from Belvedere was chucking them out, and I was chucking them out, and I think I might have thrown some out while Gob was playing one of the shows. Those shows, those tours. Can I think of one exact moment? Some of the mosh pits I could say were pretty intense. I remember Jason Collins from the band Burden. He came with us. Was helping us on one of the Warped Tours, and I remember him going into the pit. And he had only slept like 2 hours, and we're in there, and we're all giving her. I don't know who was playing No Effects or Lagwagon or whoever it was. I can't remember, but it got pretty intense. And I remember Jason got so fed up with this one kid, and he picks him up and he just launches him behind him, just goes into the crowd, and he's just like, dude, you almost killed that kid. He's like, oh, I didn't mean to. It's like, you just, he wouldn't leave me alone. He's on my back, shit like that. But it was all in, I guess, good fun, because the kid came back and was, oh, sorry, man, sorry. So yeah, some of the chaos that ensued with CDs and the mosh pits and the dust and the dirt and the mud in some of those shows, it's pretty intense. That's for sure. I won't go into anything on the backstage stuff because I don't get in trouble.
Hey, I don't blame you as well. Like, if it happens backstage, honestly, it should just stay backstage.
Some things, yeah.
But also as well, just digging back into the wisecracks here for a moment, in 2001, you guys also appeared on the 2001 compilation record titled Fucking A. I was wondering, from what you can recall, can you actually tell us a bit more about this compilation placement? And of course, is that compilation actually still out there to be streamed or purchased today in 2023?
I have no idea. That's one of many that we were on, I guess. I do recall that one. I can't even... Dude, we were on so many compilations back then because CDs were the thing, right? Everyone was doing comps, which was great because everyone was helping each other out, right? And it's the physical CD, like, I don't even know who else was on that comp. I can't even remember that one.
I mean, I had it years ago, but I feel like after the times I put you on the spot, it's now my turn to be put on the spot.
Yeah,
I want to say Belvedere was on it as well, but I do know the punk rock fans that are wrong. They're going to be like, it's been so long since I actually had my hands on that compilation.
Yeah, dude, I kind of, honestly, I cannot remember that one. I knew we were on it, and yeah, probably Belvedere. Oh, the regular dudes were all on that, on those comps. Is that like a Northern BC compilation? Maybe like
I think so. I think it was. Yeah, I do remember one of the versions actually had like a maple leaf actually on it.
Yeah, that's right. It was like almost like a hand drawn cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of picture it in my head, but yeah, dude, I don't know. We were on so many comps back then. So many.
And also as well, because right now your main project is actually not in public. I was wondering if you can actually, out of all the bands you've been a part of, I know we spoke about just a few of them and the things you've done, but going to today with Not in Public, I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about your most recent project. And of course, like, how did Not in Public actually form?
Not in Public was from I joined a band called InPublic. Hence why it's called Not in Public. But anyway, long story short, my old friend that was in Wisecrack, Brent Gill, who was also in the band called Seaman back in the day, he was looking for a bass player. And Ryan calls me up because I knew Ryan kind of from the Wisecrack days and obviously through Brent. And he's like, "Hey, Kyle, do you know anybody, any bass players that are looking to jam?" And I had just, my kid was like 6 months old. So I was kind of jonesing to get out of the house and do some guy time again, right? No offense to my lovely wife and kid, but I had taken a break for about a year, and I was in another band for a little while called Snaps Fire, and that dissolved. And he just called me one day, say, "Hey man, we're looking for a bass player. Do you know anybody?" I'm like, "Hey, I'll come and jam." And he's like, "What, really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like Brent, I like you guys." So I just showed up to their jam space one day and learned some of their tunes. And then I was in the band In Public. They were called In Public. Anyway, long story short, Brent left. He went on his fishing career. He was a big fisherman guy, working at ranches, fishing ranches. And there was just the three of us left. And I said, "Hey, well, if you guys want to keep jamming, I'll start doing vocals, right? And just do whatever." They're like, "Yeah, okay." So we started just playing around like we always do. Just it was a good vibe from Ryan and the rest of the guys, and I started writing songs with them. It was supposed to be just a fun thing, and which is always should be. But yeah, it was just a fun thing, and we couldn't think of a band name. So I was just like, well, just call it Not in Public because it's not in public, and that was it. And that was the start of it. So it was Warren, Ryan, and myself, just the three of us, just kind of dad rock almost, right? But not quite punk dad rock. So yeah, that's how it started, and we put out that first album, and it's evolved from there. Warren had to move. Ryan's still with me writing, but then I had another drummer, and the other drummer didn't work out, and Gabe stepped up because he was stoked on the songs, and I kind of snagged Gabe and Theo from Gob because they weren't busy at the moment, so I kind of snagged them into the band just to do this last EP.
And speaking of this last EP, I actually have it here in my hands, Not in Public, Half Measures. I was wondering if you can actually break down this phenomenal record, and of course my green screen is going to mess up. There we go. Break down this phenomenal record, and of course, where can we actually snag ourselves a vinyl like this, or of course, buy or stream it today on the internet?
Well, spawnerrecords.com, obviously, and go to Bandcamp, order it from there. That's about it. We just do mail order. We've almost run out of that pressing, actually. It was a small run pressing. And I'm not, if there's enough demand, I'll do a second pressing. But yeah, you can get it from just mail order. It's just me, basically me and Ryan that run the shop here. It's just, it's always been that way. Spawner's always been a collective DIY. Nothing's ever changed. Distribution, you can maybe order it from some of the small record shops, but mainly just order it from Spawner. Order it from me and I'll send it to you.
And also, I gotta say, first and foremost, man, this record absolutely sounds amazing. Because I do know sometimes when you get records from certain people, they don't always sound the best. But I gotta say, this album, and I'm not just saying this because I'm speaking to the man himself, this album sounds absolutely flawless on wax. So I suggest, if people are listening and they're contemplating on getting one, don't think, just give Kyle your money and you will not regret it.
Well, thanks a lot, man. And I have to thank Theo for that. He recorded him and I recorded. I tracked it, but my ears are blown. His ears are way better, and he knows how to mix and knows how to track way better than me. Kudos to him. And of course, it comes down to the players too, right? I had Gabe in there. I had Theo helping out. And yeah, we recorded it. We're actually in the studio right now. I'm just taking a break from doing some stuff right now. Yeah, it was all done in-house here at Richardson Sound at my own studio. Nothing's changed.
And I have to ask Hal, because obviously we spoke about Wisecrack, we spoke about Complete, we spoke about Not in Public, the Warped Tour, just your amazing career leading up to today in 2023. But is there anything we actually missed during this evening's interview? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote? Well, we still got you here live on 99.9 Punk World Radio FM this evening.
Nah, not really. Check out Not in Public, and stay tuned for more videos. We're in the middle of doing some videos and stuff. And just keep checking out all the cool bands that are around. And Spawner Records hopefully will be there for another 5 or 6 years at least, until no one's buying stuff anymore. And yeah, check out the new Another Joe. I don't know if have you had John on yet?
I have, yeah. I actually bought their new CD. I got to say,
Yeah,
Mexico is my absolute favorite song off that entire record.
It's killer. They like us old dudes. We're still kicking. I know the guys in Diesel Boy. They're doing some stuff too now. Again, they're I don't know if you know the band Diesel Boy, but from California. I know they just gotten back together again, and they're working on a new album too. I was lucky enough to tour with those guys too back in the day, and I'm looking forward to their stuff too.
I actually did not know they actually got back together. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that. There's so much amazing stuff going on in the punk rock community. To just being one person, it's so hard to keep up. But hearing that, I definitely got to check out their new material, because that's another great band that I'm glad to hear that they're actually back.
Yeah, they're in the studio right now. I just got an update from them. Yeah, I'm looking forward. I hope to see them out there, and then of course the Gob guys. I know they're got something brewing, so I hope they're going to be out and about. And if I'm not playing, I'll be guitar teching for them, because I also help out the guys guitar teching. So come out to the shows and say hi.
And I got to say, man, when you actually said Gob has something brewing, aside from my professional career as an interviewer and radio station, I absolutely love Gob, one of my all-time favorite bands. So I don't know if you saw a little smirk, but that was like the fanboy came up for a minute. I was like, oh, sweet, they're cooking up something, because I'm excited.
They're busy cooking up something. I'll let Theo and the rest of the guys talk about that. I'm not going
to press on it. I'm not going to press, but it's definitely cool to hear that they're actually still doing their thing after all these years.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But obviously, Kyle, I know how to find you on social media, but the people that might not be as savvy with social media, how can they actually follow yourself? And of course, Not in Public as a band as well. Like, what are your social media handles?
I think we're at Instagram is at Not in Public Rock. Then of course, I think I should know this. Yeah, if you just go on Facebook, you can just research, punch in Not in Public punk rock or something like that. It should come up. There's no space in Public. We stuck that together because there's other bands called Not in Public. Apparently there's one in like England and another one in Germany or something. So we kind of stupidly put In Public in one word. So that's the one trick. And of course you can find us on, you can go to spawnerrecords.com, and all our links are obviously through that too, if that's easier for everyone.
And I got to say, first and foremost, Kyle, I know we only touch base on like 2% of your amazing career this far. I'm pretty sure if we were to talk about every single thing you've done, we'd be here into the early morning hours. But I got to say, first and foremost, Kyle, it was such an honor to speak with you here this evening about just some of your amazing projects that you worked on through all these years. Hopefully down the line, we can make this happen again sometime soon. But for now, definitely have yourself a phenomenal night. It was such an honor to speak with you this evening.
Thank you very much, and thanks for doing what you're doing, man. Helping out all the bands, and just getting the word out there. I really appreciate it. You're an awesome interviewer. I really appreciate it, man.
Hey, man, I definitely appreciate the compliment. It's compliments from legendary individuals like yourself that fuel me to keep doing what I'm doing, man. So it shows me as well that I'm doing the right things to actually keep this going. So I appreciate the kind words, Kyle. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, you're most certainly welcome, Kyle. But again, definitely have yourself a phenomenal night. And most of all, stay safe out there in British Columbia. I'm pretty sure we definitely shall talk again here soon.
Yeah, we'll have to hook up sometime. We'll get out
Hey,
there.
I definitely agree.
All right, dude. Take care.
Have yourself a good night, Kyle.
Thanks again.